Welcome back. Okay, so today we are going to be diving into getting out of the box that you put yourself in. You know, that safe, secure little box that you like to put yourself in? Yeah, we're going to work on getting out of there. So, we're actually going to build on an earlier episode I did where I talked more about who you define yourself to be and talked about that who bag. Remember that bag of who you think you are or aren't. And if you didn't listen, go check out episode 2 where I talk more about that bag of who you define yourself to be or not be. Honestly, okay, this will be my biased opinion, but this episode today, this topic today can be life-changing. And it truly can. I know for me, it was. So at the core of what we're going to talk about, it is simple, but it is not easy. I'm going to say that again. It's simple, not easy. It's something that we have to keep practicing doing. And when I first learned this whole idea, when I got certified as a coach, when I dove into the world of personal development, when I dug into the science, the neuroscience, into neuro-linguistic programming, all of this stuff, it truly changed everything for me and how I saw myself and what I thought was possible for me. It was the catalyst to me getting to where I am, and I see it being the thing that so many people also identify as what was the game changer for them. And it allowed me to really realize that I am in control of my own thoughts. And as a result of that, I am in control of the results that I get in my life. And that's what we're going to dive into today. And here's the thing is we all walk around with these certain beliefs about ourselves, about the world around us, or about ourselves, about other people. And these are all created from influencers in our life. So think family and friends and society, what we were told we were good or not good at, the things that we went for. And those beliefs, they really impact all of the decisions that you are making in your life. What jobs you go for, what goals you set for yourself, really who you think you are or aren't are all at the core from these beliefs that you have. And those beliefs are creating your thoughts. So what you think of yourself, what you think of others, what you think of situations, which then creates the feelings and emotions that you have, which creates the actions you are willing or not willing to take, which creates your results. I'm going to say that again. The beliefs that you have create your thoughts, which create your feelings and emotions, which creates the actions you are willing to take or not take, which is creating your results. So if you want to profoundly alter the results that you are getting in any area of your life, you need to backtrack and examine the beliefs and the thoughts that are creating those results. This one concept alone, when you really start to understand it, embrace it, when you really focus on the impact of it and changing that, it can change everything for you. I'm going to give you an example. So if you have this belief that you are not the type of person to start your own business or be a top performer or a top leader because it's not part of who you were taught to believe you are. If you don't believe that that's possible for you, then if that opportunity were to come up for you or that situation were to come up for you, your thoughts most likely are going to be, I'm not smart enough to do that. You know, that sounds really scary. That's not a safe, quote unquote, safe option for me. I'm not creative enough to do that. I'm not assertive enough. I'm not confident enough to do that. And if you're thinking that, then the feelings you're going to have are overwhelm, anxiousness, scared, that imposter syndrome is going to start to pop up. Imposter syndrome, when you feel like, who am I to do that thing? Or you feel like you don't belong in that place or that space to do that thing. So if you're having those thoughts and those feelings, what type of action do you think you would take? Well, you're either not going to go for it at all, or you're going to play small and you're not going to go all in. And so what types of results are you going to get? Most likely not what you want. You're not going to be as successful. You're going to stay stuck where you are, either being unhappy or unfulfilled or not realizing the potential that you have. And down the road, you're going to look back and wonder why. And it's because that was that moment that you were stuck in this belief of who you are or aren't. And this is where these limiting beliefs come up. So these are literally beliefs that limit you, that we have accepted to be true for ourselves, that are limiting us in some way. because deep down, you might have the desire to do that thing, to run that business, to be that top executive, to have that really successful business, to even if it's health and fitness goals, whatever it is, you might deep down have that desire, but those beliefs, those limiting beliefs are getting in the way and preventing you from creating that, from making that into your reality. So what if instead you thought something more empowering? What if instead you believed that you don't have all the answers, you don't have the how right now, but that you know that you can figure it out? That no matter what happens, that you don't have all that information, but you know that you can figure it out. You figured it out in the past. What if instead you built up your business case for yourself of all the times that you had figured things out that you once didn't know? So now if you believed that you were capable and that you had it within you to do this thing, this goal that you have, then what thoughts would you have? Well, you most likely would think, I can figure this out. I am smart and resourceful. I know that I have within me what I need, and if I don't have it, I know that I can get what I need. This thought that this is what I'm meant to do. This is this thing that's stretching me more. And you were thinking that, then how would you feel? You would be motivated. You would be inspired. You would be excited. You would actually have joy. And if you were thinking that you were capable and resourceful and you were feeling excited and motivated, then what type of action would you take from that place? You would see beyond this tunnel vision of the can'ts. You would be able to think more creatively and see solutions versus just the problems. You would try something new instead of staying stuck. And if you're taking that type of action, what type of result are you going to get? Well, a heck of a lot more than if you stay stuck feeling like you can't, like you aren't, or like you shouldn't. This whole idea of your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your result, you can apply this to every single area of your life, in every single situation. So if you are feeling stuck in any area, you can go back to this framework and you can map it out. What are your current thoughts around this situation, around you, around this other person? And if you're thinking that, what is that making you feel? And how is that thought serving you in what you want or who you want to be or what you want the result to be? And if the answer is it's not, that thought is not serving me and where I want to go or how I want to get through this situation, then that is where you can start to reframe that thought. That's what we call that, is reframing that thought. How can you reframe that into something that's going to be more empowering, that's going to help get you to the result that you really want? And now this whole process, this is just the start. This is just the start, but I actually want you to think of a situation. I want you to think of a situation that isn't going the way you want right now. And I actually want you to map this out. What is a belief that I have? What is the thought that I have? And go through it's a whole domino effect. And like I said, if we want a different result, we start with what's creating the result, which is the thought that we have. And by reframing that thought into something more empowering, we can reset that whole domino effect to get a different result. This is just the surface. This is just the start, because you might be thinking, well, Julie, I don't really fully believe that thought yet. Fake it, right? But we're starting to focus on what we want versus what we don't want. You start with that thought and you start to create that thought to create the results, focusing on what you do want to have happen instead of what you don't want to have happen. So I want you to think of a situation. It might be a situation at work, in your business, a relationship, and I want you to walk through this process to see, what are your thoughts about it? What thoughts do you need to have in order to get the result that you want? And like I said, there's a whole layer deeper that we're going to get into, and I'm going to take you on this journey, and we're actually going to do that in an upcoming episode on how can we actually rewire our brains? How do we build our mental fitness so that these aren't just surface level things that we're doing, but it's actually deeply rooted and wired beliefs about ourselves. So we're going to have a really powerful episode coming up about digging into the research behind this. There's research on positive intelligence that states that only 20% of people have the mental fitness needed to reach peak performance and fulfillment. 20%. That means that 80% of people are walking around not living up to their full potential because they don't have the mental fitness needed. For today, I want to give you a place to start. We start with the thoughts. So I'm going to give you a quick journey to take and a story, and then we'll dive more into the mental fitness on an upcoming episode. So if you've done this work before, or if you've never done this work, this is a really good place to start. And now I like to bring in science-backed tools so that you know it's not just me saying, hey, this is something cool that you should try and do. It's actually based in research. It's been studied. So things around neuroscience, and specifically today, we're going to talk around this process from neuro-linguistic programming. So this is called the Dickens process. You can look this up, Dickens, the Dickens process, and it is a tool of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. So this process uses the conscious mind in order to make you visualize possible future paths and attach feelings to the process. Right? So I want you to almost think of it like you're standing in this place and you're trying to make a choice. Either I'm going to go down the left path or the right path. And let's say the right side is going to lead you to your future self. If you would change this current behavior you have or this current limiting thought that you have. So the right path is going to show you how by making this change, your life will change positively, and how it will affect the people around you. And the left path is where we stay where we currently are and what the domino effect is of that. So in this Dickens process, you're forced to examine these limiting beliefs in your life, like you hold them up to your face, right? So for an example, if we think of just a bad habit, why do people continue to do something like smoke if they know it's bad for them or if it's going to damage their health? Why do they continue to do that? Right? And you actually walk through this process. For you, it might not be a bad behavior. It might be a thought that's keeping you stuck right now. So it might be a bad behavior. It might be something on your health or your well-being. It might be this next level of you in your career or in your business. And you look at how is this limiting you? And if we were to change that, where could we be? So if we think I'm going to go down this left path, I'm going to stay where I am. You actually visualize yourself. If I were to continue doing this, how will things look in 3-5 years from now? If this is a health thing, for example, how will I tell my children of this health implication because I continued this habit? How does this affect my personal and professional life? What am I no longer able to do? And you actually see what this future looks like if you were to continue in the place you are now. If you were to continue with this habit, with this behavior, or with this belief about yourself that's not serving you, what would that look like for you? Then you actually imagine taking the right path. So the path to the right, where we continue on without that limiting belief. What would life look like if I no longer did this bad habit, or if I no longer believed this thing about myself that's keeping me stuck? And you imagine the best possible version of you without that thought, without that thing keeping you stuck. Think about what your family life would look like. Think about what your professional and personal life would look like. And you actually see this future 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 years down the road if you change this belief. So that you are actually experiencing both types. I did a very, very similar process to this when I went to the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within. He brought in this process, and now we did this for actual hours where you so deeply felt sort of both options. You start with the sort of painful one. If you continue this thing where you're feeling stuck, or you know that it's a bad behavior or anything like that's keeping you stuck, and you feel it, versus the right path where you change it and you change that limiting belief and what could be possible for you. And it is such a powerful exercise if you do this, when you confront this very vivid future of yourself and this imagery of what could happen. So you're feeling it and you're seeing it. So there's a couple questions that you can actually ask yourself. So if you think of a situation for yourself and you think of going to the left path where you stay stuck in that thing. A question you ask yourself is, what could be the costs of this limiting beliefs if I don't change them? What are the costs of this limiting belief or bad habit if I don't change it? How could I possibly hurt the people I love in the future? How could I hurt the people I love in the future by not changing this? And how will this affect my future business or professional life? When you take the path to the right, you ask yourself these questions. What are new empowering patterns and beliefs that I have as a result of changing this? How will my career evolve? And how will my personal life change? So these are really powerful questions that you can ask yourself, and really starting to visualize what could life look like if I no longer had that limiting belief. So one thing that you can do, you can actually go through that entire process, that entire exercise, and I really encourage you to do that and to go through that whole thing and see what comes up for you. And if that whole process right now is like, oh, that seems overwhelming, at the simplest way you can start with it is just start by writing down those limiting beliefs that you have for yourself. Any belief or thought that you have about yourself that is limiting you right now in your life in some way, write them down. So for example, if you're a leader, maybe it's I'm not confident or assertive enough to be a top executive. Or if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, I'm not confident, I don't have enough experience enough to work with that next level of client. Or any type of limit you put on yourself around how much you can earn. If it's a health and fitness thing, I'm not a runner. So whatever your current limiting beliefs are, write them down. And then I want you to go back and cross them off and write, the truth is, I am, and write a more empowering belief. Cross them off and write a more empowering belief. These I am statements are so incredibly powerful. Instead of thinking of the things you aren't, you start to think of what you are. And it actually changes the way that your brain is wired and what it's focusing on. To me, this was such a profound concept when I learned about these I am statements and really starting to change those beliefs. And I can look back and see all the times that I put myself in this box of what I was or wasn't good at. And I always said, things like I'm not good at math and I'm not good with financial things. And the reality was I was still getting an A in math, but it was hard for me to grasp it. I put myself in this box, and so I never really tried. I never sought out things to use it or to challenge myself. I was scared of it. That's just not who I was. So any type of thing that you're carrying around with you that you say you aren't. And when I learned about this idea of I am and how you can reframe that, and you can change those statements, instead of saying I'm not this, I'm not that, you put in I am. I am confident. I am powerful. I am assertive. I am a successful business owner, whatever that is. It's a completely open canvas to say, I am anything and everything that I choose to be. The words I am are so powerful. I actually got the words I am with a period at the end tattooed on my wrist, the first and only tattoo I've ever gotten so far, to remind me right there on my wrist every day that I see it, that it doesn't even matter what word comes behind it, is that I am whatever I choose to be. And you are whatever you choose to be. As soon as you overcome those beliefs, those limiting beliefs that are holding you back from the thing you most want to be. I hope that this episode has you examining your own limiting beliefs. I hope it helps you to think outside of that box that you might have put yourself in that's stopping you from getting to that next goal that you really want, and helps you to rewrite that story that's no longer serving you and where you want to go. All right, see you soon.